let's talk about my must-haves in my classroom library. Hello everyone, it's Eric back with Teacher's Place, and today we're going to be talking about my must-haves in my classroom library. Now obviously these books are dependent on whether or not I'm teaching different grades, so you won't find all these in my classroom library at any given time, but you will find at least some of them. I am a primary school teacher, so most of these books do pertain to primary school, but one of these books can even be expanded all the way into university. So let's just get right into it with our first book. So our first book here is The Wild Robot, written by Peter Brown. This is a New York Times bestseller. It is an excellent book, and it was recommended to me by an organization called Global Read Aloud. If you've never heard of Global Read Aloud, it hooks you up with a ton of different books and a curriculum for each single book that they recommend. Each one of their books is for a classroom read aloud. You do it by running through the curriculum. You just follow it. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, and there's lots of different activities that they provide you. This organization hooks you up with thousands of teachers who are part of their organization, and essentially it's one click, you vote on what books you want, they send all the books out throughout the year, and every month you get a new book for a new read aloud in your classroom. So this book was back, I believe, in 2016, and it's a two-part series, and it talks about a robot who has been stranded on a deserted island and must learn to survive through watching different animals and watching their adaptations. This book is actually for students who are a little bit older. If you're a teacher who teaches grade 4, 5, 6, I would highly recommend this book. It does have some pictures in it, and it does have its own kind of black and white art style, so it's really interesting. It's not too heavy on writing, and chapters are quick. So if you want to do 2 chapters, that might be up to maximum 4 or 5 pages some of the time. So it's really quick, it's really fun, and a lot of things happen in this book. So this robot named Roz here has to, again, learn how to survive by watching different animals and learning how to adapt. So at one point she learns how to climb rocks because she watches some crabs do it. And at one point she learns how to camouflage herself by watching different animals kind of blend into their surrounding environment. Now if you're learning about animals, if you're learning about even technology or survivability, I highly recommend this book to you. My students absolutely love this book. After I finished reading the book to them, they begged me to get the second book in the series, and I did, and they read it all by themselves actually, so it was really fun, it was really interesting. Book number 2, The Book with No Pictures. So this book is recommended to any grade level that is transitioning from picture books to books with no pictures. And I'm gonna read you the warning, the back page here. It says, "This book looks serious but is actually completely ridiculous. If a kid is trying to make you read this book, the kid is playing a trick on you. You will end up saying silly things and making everybody laugh and laugh. Don't say I didn't warn you." Like the description of the book says, it's absolutely ridiculous, it's a very silly book, and it teaches students that, even if a book doesn't have pictures, it doesn't mean it can't be funny, it doesn't mean it can't be interesting. So as the reader of this book, you are required to say every made-up word and every silly thing that comes written down on the pages here. At one point, you say a ton of made-up words like blurf and blork. You call yourself a monkey in this. You say you have no brain. It's really funny. My students absolutely loved it. I've used this book in kindergarten. I've used this book in grade 1, grade 2. You can, I'm sure, even read this to a crowd of older students and they would still find it really funny. Book number 3, The Day the Crayons Came Home. Now, I use this book to teach my students how to make sure that they take care of their property, or else it might, in this case, the day the crayons came home, disappear. This book is about a ton of crayons who were sort of mistreated by their owner, and they ended up running away from home, and eventually they do make their way back. And as they're making their way back, they write a ton of postcards to their owner describing how they felt being either thrown away or damaged or left behind, and it makes for a really, really interesting read. This book is excellent for also teaching colors to your students because there's a ton of crayon colors that go through this book. I'll show you the art style is even really interesting because everything has been drawn on by crayons. So the art style here, everything is drawn on by crayons, and even the postcard over here is written in crayons. So it's a really fun book, and it really brings to mind that you really need to take care of your property. Don't don't break it, don't lose it. It's really important to make sure that you're taking care of your stuff. And that's the main theme that I take away from this book. That's what I usually use if my students are breaking things in my classroom or breaking their own property or losing their own property a lot. This is the book to pull out. My next book is Enemy Pie, and if you've never heard of Enemy Pie as a teacher before, then A, you've been living under a rock, and B, you're in for a real treat. Enemy Pie is an excellent book. I absolutely love it, and there are so many resources on this book. This book has been around for a long time. If you look at any teacher resource website, there's a ton of free resources and paid resources for this book. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. It talks about a boy, in this case this boy over here, who's having trouble with this new student because he's kind of taking his thunder. He's winning the baseball game for his team. He's not letting him play on the trampoline. And this boy really doesn't like this other student. So this boy's dad devises a plan and says that, I'm gonna make you and this boy enemy pie. And enemy pie is just right down here, and it looks kind of gross with a ton of worms and vegetables and blah. The only way for the dad to make the enemy pie is for this boy to actually play with the student all day and pretend to be his friend. And by the end of the book, if you can guess, the boy and the student actually do become friends, and enemy pie is really just a regular old apple pie. If you have any trouble with friendship, or if you have any trouble with students judging each other too quickly, I highly recommend this book. It's an excellent book, and again, lots of different resources out there for this book. The last book I have here is What to Do with an Idea. Now, this book is the book that I mentioned that kind of transcends all grades. So you can teach this to a kindergartner, you can teach this to someone in university. It's an excellent book for anybody of all ages. It talks about what to do with an idea from beginning all the way to the end, where an idea could possibly change the world. And it's an excellent book. I love it. It was given to me by my final practicum class when I was teaching in university. They very nicely signed their names. They wrote really, really nice messages. I absolutely love this book. I've taught this to kids in kindergarten and all the way up to grade 5 because that's the oldest grade I've taught so far. They loved it. I loved it. The art style is very cute. It starts off kind of black and gray over here. Only the idea is colored, and then eventually, by the end of it, your entire world is colored, and it's changed because you've had this idea. And it talks about how if somebody puts down your idea, it's not the end of the world. You need to persevere and continue and feed that idea and let it grow. Now, this book I use in my classes that if I have any students that are very shy, timid, or if there's a lot of put downs being brought up in my class, I use this book and I take it out and I read it to them and I talk to them about different reasons why they're not sharing their ideas, and this book brings up all the reasons. My idea is silly, no one's gonna like it, people are gonna make fun of my idea, and it kind of brings it full circle and tells you that even if your idea may look silly to anyone on the outside, and even to yourself, by the end, it may actually change the world if you believe in your idea. So I love this book. I highly recommend it. It's definitely a confidence booster in your classroom. So that's it for me. Please let me know in the comments section what your must-haves are in your classroom library. I would love to expand my list of classroom books that I have, and I'm sure that I'm going to make another video one day on this topic very soon. If you liked the video and you'd like to see more content, please hit that subscribe button, and I can't wait to see everyone in the next video. Bye-bye.